Here we are with Profundis, with Craig and Roman. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. A bit knackered. We're just coming back from Holland yesterday. We had a fourth show of the tour. This is the fifth show. Very happy to be home.
And how are you feeling before today's show?
Looking forward to it. It's the first show that we're playing on the tour that's been sold out. It's a smaller venue, but it's a home crowd for us, and we're looking forward to it very much.
It's great. How's it been touring with Marduk and Immolation? Must be pretty.
We've been on a couple of tours, and we've played with some pretty big names, so we don't really get starstruck. After all, they're just sort of normal guys in bands just like us. But it's really cool hanging out with the guys, especially the Immolation guys. They're really nice blokes. The Marduk guys are typical Swedes. They take a little bit of time to warm to you, but I think they're coming out of their shells a little bit. But no, it's really cool. It's kind of like a little family when you're on tour, like a little extended family. So it's good. And every tour that we've had, we've made good relationships that we've managed to keep on over time. So I hope it'll be the same with these guys too.
Oh, that's really cool. And how's it been with Massive Music, the agency who put up the event?
I think they're really great. This is the second time that we're touring with them. So we toured with them in 2010 with Ortenkreis and Omnium Gatherum. That was mostly Eastern Europe. And yeah, they're great. I mean, it's a Polish crew, really efficient, really professional, and they drink a lot. So it's it's a really good combination.
They have to drink a lot. They're Polish.
That's right, man. We tried to drink with them last tour, and they just ended in disaster. Really? We got lost, and we didn't. Yeah, it's a long story.
well, maybe you'll tell us some other time. All right, so in touring new album, The Emptiness Within, I noticed that there's quite a bit of sound differences between your previous two albums when compared to the previous two albums. How different was your approach to this new record?
Well, actually, I think the approach to the new record was similar to the previous one, approach-wise. But what we tried to do was, we thought some of the songs were maybe a little bit long and took too long to get to the point on the previous album. So we kind of took the basic ideas and stripped it down, tried to get to the point a little bit quicker. We also speeded things up a little bit, and in terms of influences and stuff, it was pretty much the same as last time in terms of anything goes, really. Whatever we felt like putting in, we just put in. I think as a whole it works very well. There's some bits on the album that people might be shocked by, but we make the album for ourselves and we like the music that's on there. So the music's for us. If other people like it, awesome. If they don't, tough luck.
That's a good approach. I really enjoyed listening to the new album, and for me it was very. The music was very emotional, like atmospheric, and it sounded passionate. So, do you have to be in a special mood to write a De Profundis track or album?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because we're quite regimented when it comes to songwriting. When it's time to write a song, we'll go to the studio at certain. We've got a set day of the week that we go for a set time, and sometimes you feel more inspired than others. But we know what we've got to do, and we all, especially now that the band has been together with this lineup for a little while, we kind of can almost understand what each other's thinking about. So we're kind of on the same wavelength, and it's not like that all the time, but a lot of time it is, and we just know when something is right and when something isn't right. I mean, it comes quite natural to us, but we also do think about it quite a lot too. It's not, we don't just let it flow. We do to a degree, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it as well.
All right, that's cool. But so as you said, you approach the music all together as a team. So I mean, you can also hear it in the music. Well, the instruments and vocals. Everyone has his own part. So isn't it difficult, like putting it all together? Don't you get into quarrels or?
Yeah, I mean, we argue a lot. I think, we don't argue more than any other bands, but we're all very passionate. We love our music. We love what we do. It is challenging to write. normally everyone gets involved. So, you know, me or Shoy, the other guitar player, might have a basic idea. We show it to the other guys, and then by the time everyone's finished to it, the idea may be completely different. And that's always the case. And we never know where a song is going to go. You know, it's not possible. We don't have any structures. We don't have any formulas. It's just whatever we feel like creating with a piece of music, we do it. One thing that we did that was different on this album is that we recorded a lot more demos before the album was done, so we had a lot more chances to experiment with production, with arrangements, and you know, so for example, there are some fairly quiet keyboards on the album, and that's because we had experimented with how they could fit in the space. And as you say, everybody does their own thing. The guitars almost never play the same part, and Aaron, our bass player, always adds something new. So it's like almost always has 3 different parts, and then the drums are coming in, and then Craig also tries to pick up on different things and do his own thing. So I think we, you know, as Craig said, anything goes, and sometimes we enjoy surprising the listener.
And ourselves.
Like you say, anything goes. But yeah, I heard there's a lot of different musical influences, like jazz and more traditional metal or rock. So what kind of stuff do you guys listen to?
The band listens to such a massive, diverse range of music that it's unbelievable. I mean, when we're together as a band, we hardly ever listen to any metal. Yeah. It's normally stuff like Queen or Journey or stuff like that. Hardly any metal gets played. Yeah, it's cheesy kind of 80s stuff or whatever. But
we had some Wasp and Underworld as well yesterday.
And apart from heavy metal, we listen to like a lot of prog, jazz, jazz fusion. I like my 80s like pop music from the early 80s.
He's
and
a big George Michael fan, I'll just add.
Funk and soul and just everything. I mean, that's why you can tell like there's quite a lot of sort of jazzy stuff on the album. And yeah, I mean, everything that we listen to kind of comes through to various degrees, but we're still a metal band, so it's always going to be metal, but maybe coloured in a slightly different way to make it more interesting for us and for the listeners.
Coloured metal.
Yeah.
What do you think of genres and this trend of people and journalists labeling bands and expecting them to play a certain type of genre? Like, I read reviews and people find a hard time to label you guys, for example. What are you, Black Death, Doom, Prog?
Well, it's a problem. I wouldn't like it to be a problem for us because we just play the music that we play. It's not for us to label it, but people want us to label it, and it's really hard for us to do so. Yeah. Because we don't feel like we fit into any genre perfectly. We don't fit into a box. Music shouldn't be made to fit into a box. Because if it does, it's not really an expression of who you are. It means you're just copying somebody else that's done it before. We're not really interested in that. But it's difficult when somebody comes to you and says, well, what kind of metal do you play? Or I wouldn't know how to describe it. So the journalists have got a tough job. They need to try to tell somebody in words what a band sounds like. It's like that famous quote, dancing about architecture. You can't really describe music. You need to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're never going to be accurate.
It's funny actually. Just as we were loading up today, some guy asked me, "Oh, so are you playing a show tonight?" And I say, "Yeah." And he's like, "So do you sound like Dying Fetus?" What? I'm like, "No, not really." So he goes, "So are you heavier than Dying Fetus?" I'm like, "Well, no, we're different." Like, but do you have more blast speeds? I'm like, "I don't know, man. I have to load my shit, you know." Yeah, so absolutely, I don't really know what to say. But I mean, at the same time, I understand why people do it, you know, because if you had to describe what we do to someone else, you have to pigeonhole it, right? Yeah. Or if a label wants to do it, so I understand, but at the same time, it's frustrating that people are not saying it's the Profundis. They want to say it's extreme progressive, doom, black, jazz, wank, you know, it's...
Wank,
yeah.
Extreme wank.
Extreme wank. I like that.
So far you have released, you have 3 releases under your belt, and how come you didn't start off with a demo and you went ahead to release a full-length album?
Well, I think at the time we thought that at the cost of making a demo, a decent demo would be almost the cost of doing an album. So we figured, why not just do an album? Yeah. But I think in hindsight, I think we should have done it as a demo, really. Luckily, we just released it ourselves, and I don't think a lot of people have heard it. But the music that even with the second album and the third album, is so completely different from the first album. There are some slight similarities if you look for them, but I mean, we've evolved so far beyond the first album that it sounds like almost like a completely different band. And I mean, half the band is different from the lineup anyway, so it's not really. It was representative of what we were doing at the time, but not of what we're doing now.
I think Craig and I disagree on this slightly. I still think it's a good album. I think you can hear it's not from the genre or the tempos, but from the way that the music is arranged. I think that we have, we're not one of these bands that you hear the guitar tone and you say that's Obituary, or hear the shit drumming and you say that's Metallica. We are more about how we write music, and I think you can still tell it's us, but the actual kind of mood and what we're trying to do is quite different. I mean, half the band is different, so it's not the same approach.
Yeah, I think there are some similarities in all your albums, but they're all quite different, as you say. I read some interviews that you're not very pleased with the UK metal scene. That's not very supportive to the underground.
No, it's not. The metal scene in the UK is pathetic, really, and it just brings it home when you on tour and you're playing venues. Yesterday we played in a little village in the Netherlands, and the venue was better, the catering was better than anything you get in the UK. The crowd was good. I mean, it's just in the UK it's just extremely trendy. There's no respect for the bands. They just treat you like shit. The music's like a commodity. It seems as though in Europe people still care about the music that bands are making, but it seems like it's pretty much dead here. And it's not just London; it's the whole UK. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with you, because I'm studying at the University of Essex in Colchester, and I've been up for a year now here, and I also realized that it's people like, I don't know, some big thing.
They'll jump on something like the whole stoner kind of movement at the moment is really popular, and like the psychedelic 70s stuff. Every band wants to sound like Black Sabbath. That was done 40 years ago. There's no need to do it anymore. People need to move on, but they're just stuck in the rut, and it's annoying and pathetic.
And before that, you had all these bands trying to be like shoegaze, pop rock, black metal, which I think is pretty crap. But everybody was doing it, So,
trends.
Yeah.
Would it be correct to label the scene in the UK as an industry of cool? I coined the term from the film Almost Famous. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. No. An industrial what?
An industry of cool.
An industry of cool. No, it's an industry of perceived cool. They think they're cool, but they're very wrong.
Very nice. I agree with that. What do you think of sexism in metal? Women tend to be excluded a lot of times, or objectified.
Well, for one thing, I've noticed, I came to the UK in 2000, and when I started coming to gigs, there was hardly any women in the crowd. Nowadays, it's almost 50% of the crowd is women. So, in one way, I think that's good, because it's given the scene a kick up the backside. I think it makes people see women as equals rather than just there to sort of shag the roadies or whatever. They're actually there because they like metal, and that's one of the steps to get them to be sort of not objectified in the scene and to be treated as equals. I still think we need to come a long way, though, because even now, as soon as a woman gets into a band, bands kind of use it to their advantage for marketing, for sales, rather than just being a good player. People care about how they look, and that's still, the scene is still like that, and I don't see that changing in a hurry. I think it might get there, but it'll take a while.
I think also the problem there is it's like a vicious circle, because a lot of bands with women in them, they realize they can use it for a marketing stunt, so they do. So in a way, it's kind of like a self-perpetuating problem.
And yeah, and what do you think of this this whole marketing and the business and the politics behind the metal scene, which is becoming more and more? You can see it more and more nowadays.
I think it's nothing new. I think the music business has been around for as long as music has been. I think what we're seeing now is it's really shit, and a lot of people are really struggling, and because there's just money is really tight, and internet has completely changed things. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's really changed things.
Yeah.
And I think that's changed a lot of people's attitudes. So people, maybe because people don't appreciate music as much, it's more difficult to sell. So maybe music business is meaner and nastier. They are unlikely to take a risk with bands. There's no budget for anything anymore. I don't know. I get the sense that it's because it's a lot more difficult. People are talking about it a lot more, but I think in reality, people have always had difficulty with the music business. If you ask any guy, most guys, from 70s onwards, why did you quit doing music? They'll tell you music business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my view.
Yeah. All right. Back to the Profundis. Do you have any ideas for future material?
No,
nothing.
We haven't written a single note yet for the next album, and I don't actually know when we're going to start. Probably we'll get the tour finished with, and then we'll start thinking about it. We're building our own rehearsal space and recording studio.
Oh, that's cool.
We used to have a recording studio where we could write, but it was too small to rehearse. We're currently building a new one where we'll be able to rehearse, and I think when that's done, hopefully before the end of the year, we can start putting some time in and start writing new stuff. But in terms of how the material will sound, who knows? It'll be a progression of what we're doing now, I guess. Maybe just a little bit wilder.
Keep on breaking boundaries.
Well, yeah. If you're not breaking boundaries, you might as well just quit.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've always said, I've said this many times, if I ever get to a stage that I've done a perfect album, I'm going to quit music. I don't see there's any point. And in the same way, I don't see the point in making the same album. So one thing you're going to get from us is there's always something different. And I know some people are going to get annoyed at that, but that's too bad.
Yeah, well.
So we are not AC/DC.
Well, yeah, AC/DC, it's already been done.
Yeah.
And you recently released your first music video to...
Yeah.
And how was that experience?
It was an interesting experience. We decided that we were going to do a music video on this third album because it was a method of marketing that we hadn't tried before, and we recorded a music video for the song Twisted Landscapes, which ended up being a disaster. So we redid it with a different company, basically reshot the whole thing. We shot it over 2 days, one of the band playing, and then another one with some narrative where we got an actress in to do some narrative for the video. And then we gave it to the film guy and just said, make something cool. We had basic ideas of how it was going to go, and he came up with something really awesome. And we argued quite a lot about it because everybody had different visions about how it was going to go. But at the end of the day, it's something that people aren't going to buy from us. It's something that they're going to discover the band by seeing that. And I think that it's done a good job so far, and it portrays us, I think, in a good light. So I hope people will look at it and will want to check out the rest of our material.
Yeah, definitely. So you're pleased with the end result of it?
Yeah, very pleased.
That's good. And I think that's everything. Do you have any message to your fans or readers, to all our readers?
It was just support metal. Go to shows, buy albums, preferably from the band rather than downloading, and just support it every way you can, because without support it's just gonna die.
We need you guys. We need you, So we do it for ourselves, but we also do it for you. So
it's not just the Profundis that needs you. It's metal. It's music. Otherwise, you're going to be watching X Factor in 10 years, and that's all you're going to be getting. So support metal now while you still can.
And don't support the UK mainstream.
No, for sure. Don't support any mainstream. Support what you feel in your heart, not what other people tell you to support.
All right. Thank you guys a lot.
Thank you.
Cool.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much.